Hi everyone, Sleep the Snooze Tano here, the internet's busiest music nerd. And it is time for a review of the collaborative ZillaKami and SosMula project City Morgue Volume 1, Hell or High Water. This is a new collab album from two of the meanest, nastiest rappers out right now, ZillaKami and SosMula, who have been building a name for their little duo over the past 6 or 7 months with a handful of pretty hot singles off of World Star Hip Hop. Tracks like Skatehead and 33rd Black Glass. These heavy, loud trap ragers that bring new meaning to the word banger. The duo hits this level of extreme without necessarily going too experimental or jumping out of the rap genre entirely. I mean, ZillaKami's vocals on this project sound more like something that would front an industrial metal band before a hip hop duo. The evil instrumentals on this thing, a lot of them are packed with these heavy, grinding, distorted nu metal guitars. It's almost like a new iteration of rap metal, but the roots of this sound are coming more from the hip-hop side than they are from the rock side. And with the rise of trap, we've seen a lot of aggressive shades of hip-hop over the past couple of years. Not just ZillaKami and SosMula, who have also collaborated on a 3-track EP earlier this year, but also 6ix9ine, JPEG Mafia, Rico Nasty, XXXTentacion, Horror, and Lil Nar, and Scarlord. In this new hyper-aggressive blend of trap, the battle to be heard is getting louder, and it's being fought with volume. And Zilla and Sos blow away much of their competition with the tracks I mentioned earlier on that front. The beats and the vocals on this thing, they're turned up to 11. They're turned up to 13. They're turned up to 666, 'cause this album is so edgy. But I think in the process of going as hard as they possibly can across a good deal of this record, I think Zilla and Sos have lost sight of any lick of nuance. This thing is 14 tracks, it's 30 minutes, a lot of the songs are about 2 minutes and change, not a lot of room for fluff or error, not a whole lot of room for changing it up either, as it feels like these two are merely just trying to copy over the formula from their 3 biggest singles again and again and again and again until they fill out a whole record. Which I guess is not a bad starter, a bad taster if you're a new fan and you just kind of want more of that hype sound that might have gotten you into the duo in the first place. It certainly does establish a sound, an idea, a style, but failing to provide even a little bit of quality and significant variation across this album does lead to a lot of one-dimensional muck. And the only thing that really cuts through it is when Zilla and Sos manage to bang out another super high quality track with an incredibly memorable hook, or one of the most extreme vocal performances on the entire record. I mean, there are some really infectious refrains off of the singles that I mentioned earlier. Put a nail in the coffin, lay him down for a minute. Put a nail in the coffin, lay him down for a minute. Chop him off, war dog, let him all off. All I want till you get it gone off. And there are some deep cuts on here that hit equally as hard, whether it be ARSON or PTSD, or the track Grave Hop. Grave Hop! However, there are a handful of cuts on this thing that seem to ease up on the gas a little bit, but it's not like there's so much of a vocal, an instrumental, or an emotional change of pace that they provide that much counterpoint from some of the more hard-hitting tracks on this thing. They just seem like slightly less abrasive tracks with flatter hooks that really pale in comparison to the more explosive cuts on this record. Talking about tracks like Nuka-Cola and Lamborghini Getaway,
Snow on the Bluff,
which has easily one of the clunkiest and most long-winded choruses on this entire record. There are a few tracks on this thing that I think suffer from severe missteps as well, like the cut Ken Park, which has this really weird feature on the back end from BLAKK. He sounds half asleep on this song, he barely sticks out of the instrumental. And the song So What, which features this Zilla verse on the back end that is so distorted and fuzzed out and swallowed into the instrumental, sounds like a total mess. It's barely even legible. His flow comes off really sloppy as well. Generally though, the flows on this album are pretty catchy. However, on the lyrical front, I'm not going to say the bars on this thing are garbage, but they're super general. The level of violence and sex and drugs that Zilla and Sos put forward on this project isn't really that much deeper than what you might catch on a number of different trap albums. So topically, it's kind of run-of-the-mill, and in terms of word choice and style, it's not really that refreshing either. Occasionally, one of these guys hits a really over-the-top simile or reference, like Sos talking about how he's Bob the Builder but with a big tool. That was pretty funny, but given the tone of the music and just the overall sound of this thing, I would have figured the lyrics would be a bit darker, stranger, more tortured, more disturbed, but that just doesn't end up being the case. Overall, I liked this project. I think there are a lot of good standouts on it. Occasionally, Sos and Zilla can really drop a fantastic chorus. They hop on some extreme, over-the-top, mind-blowing production that sounds metal or punked out as hell. The whole thing is really aggressive. It's in your face. It's blowing rocket launchers out of your car windows while driving off of a cliff to your death. But as hard as the duo goes on this album, there's not a lot of substance here, not a lot of versatility here. There's very little in terms of long game, because by the halfway point of this album, you've pretty much heard everything the duo has to offer, aside from their 3 best singles, which they see fit to put at the very end, but you know what I'm saying. So while I do love a lot of tracks on this record, I like its style, I like its aesthetic, I just wish there was a little bit more to it. It's a lot of bark, but not a whole lot of really anything else. I'm feeling a light to decent 6 on this thing. Transition, have you given this album a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best, you're the best. What should I review next? Hit the like if you like. Please subscribe and please don't cry. Hit the bell as well. Over here next to my head is another video that you can check out. Hit that up, or the link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, SosMula, ZillaKami, City Morgue, forever.